What was it like partying as a disabled student?
Well, as you know, Andrew, I never went to any of that.
Outside of college, like if you went clubbing?
Yeah. See, there's got to be some pros of the whole disability thing, and this was one of them. It was a bit of a chaotic first meeting.
It was okay.
Well, feet are a fashion accessory for me at this point.
No one really talks about that online.
Yeah.
No one, like, obviously, do you have any advice to disabled students thinking of applying?
My name is Mia. Yes, I've graduated. I survived 3 years at Cambridge.
I agree completely, because especially I had the same thing of, I said in my first vlog of term, I almost felt guilty because I was like, I should be studying, like this is Cambridge. And then I thought, actually, I need for the first week to get my exam arrangements in place. I mean, beyond any like exam requirements, like any question of exam requirements, I was just kind of getting my systems in place. Like there's some stuff that I think you just have to prioritize and get organized at the start of term, because suddenly you have 100 emails and like 15 deadlines, and anything that isn't like a direct thing I need to get done by tomorrow kind of just gets pushed back. So I would definitely agree that if there's anything like this, exam arrangements, accessibility arrangements, try and get them organised as soon as possible.
Yeah, get in there early.
And also, one more thing, is that I didn't know about the help I was entitled to. Not because of the university's fault, it was just because these emails were getting buried and I was getting emailed back from the Disability Resource Centre. But this year I've started having sessions with a neurodivergent mentor and also a study skills mentor. And this is 1 hour a week, which I can use for whatever I want. Well, it's actually 2 different mentors, so I can have 2 hours a week, but at the moment I just thought 1 hour is fine. So the university will give you help for your condition, but there is also, it's kind of up to you in a certain sense. You kind of have to go out of your way to make sure you're responding to emails, making sure that you've applied for the funding that you're eligible for, things like that. And this is also, I'm not trying to like preach, like I need to do some of this stuff, like as I say this, I'm like, oh, I kind of need to apply for some funding for some stuff right now, but...
Yeah, I had a mentor as well, and I forgot about that until you added it on, because it all just blurs together in my mind with supervisions. But I had a mentor who, I think her specialism was more physical disabilities. I know she supported people with like fibromyalgia. I think also people without physical disabilities, but things like autism and stuff like that. And I found that it was a weekly thing, and it was an hour a week, and that check-in point became really, really valuable to me. I think particularly in my first year when it was COVID, it felt really nice to have someone to check in with in that way, who could also tell me about what the next term might look like, because they know Cambridge is a bit of a mystery until you're in it, I think.
I agree.
But yeah, it was something that was offered to me when I was making my SSD in that original meeting. Nice. And I took it because I think I've been told over my life sometimes it's quite difficult to get things offered to you because of budget cuts and all that fun stuff in like social services. So when the DRC offered me a mentor, I was like, okay, I'll take it, and then I'll just stop it if it's not what I find helpful. But I think, I'm happy that I just took a chance, because it was actually quite good.
Oh, I'm happy. No, same here, because I didn't do it. I kind of procrastinated about getting back to them and organising emails. And when I eventually found a weekly slot that works for me, it alleviated the stress a bit, because it meant, okay, every single Thursday at 5 p.m. I've got my mentoring, rather than thinking like, oh, I need to get back to this person and organise a slot, and what's my timetable look like, because it changes we have a 2-week timetable, and then sometimes it will be like, oh, you have a supervision on this or a seminar on this in week 3, 7 and 8, so it can be crazy. So once I had a weekly slot, I was like, okay, this is my moment to reflect. Sometimes I won't use the whole hour. Sometimes I will just say, let's have a quick chat, and then I just want to work. But it's nice to have that weekly check-in point, I feel. Yeah,
definitely. And even things like, for me, I was told that mentoring can help you with like time management. And when I came from A-levels and GCSEs, I was like, I know there's stuff I need to learn about time management, but I think I can work it out. I didn't know what I was doing. My first Michaelmas, my first term at Cambridge was a bit, the workload was a bit all over the place, because I think it's quite a specific way of working that I hadn't experienced before, because there's a lot of self-directed stuff as well. And mentoring was very helpful for that too. I think it's just, for me personally, my advice, if you are having mentoring here, is to have a think about what you want from the hour before you turn up, because then when it's targeted, it's a lot more helpful.
I agree. I think I agree so much because I do the same thing each day, like beyond mentoring. And when I wake up, I'm like, okay, let's write down my objectives for today. And it means that because you're going to have like emails to respond to, you're going to have, I don't know, maybe for me as a language student, there's always more vocabulary to learn. There's always more speaking I can do. There's always a little bit of extra translation practice I can do. But like waking up and being like, okay, these 3 objectives I'm going to do, those are my main things I need to get done today is helpful. So I think also in the like world of mentoring, that is helpful because essentially the person you're speaking to probably knows a lot about your condition and they can, like, they're so flexible that it's very good to have a plan.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think from my perspective as well, though, my mentor knew a lot about like physical health conditions in general. Her background actually was she used to be a student here, which was quite interesting to compare experiences. But because my disability is quite rare and quite specific, it kind of fits more in a muscular dystrophy kind of umbrella. So I did find that I had to explain a bit about myself, and that can be a bit tiring when you do your SSD and then you have to talk through all that stuff about what your needs are, and then you meet your mentor and you have to do it again, and then like with lecturers sometimes and supervisors. But I think it is just a bit about pushing through, because then you'll get to the point where people know you. And also I think as you mentioned, the SSD, you can just send it, and then hopefully if people have time then they'll read it and you don't have to keep repeating things all the time. But I think the main thing is, as long as people are willing to listen and learn, then you can manage accessibility concerns a bit easier.
Good for you. I think I'm happy that that you just girl bossed your whole time at Cambridge by the sounds of it. And I wanted to touch a bit now on the social life here. And did you feel, firstly, that there was like a good disabled community here? Is that like a community that you spent a lot of time with? Or, how did you feel in relation to that?
That's an interesting question. There are disabled students' unions, there are disabled students' groups. I remember when I started as a fresher, there was some like buddying up mentor scheme. But for me personally, I didn't get mega involved in all of that. I think it was a bit because, as I say, I started in COVID, and that was just a bit of a weird way to try and set off like this social societies, all of that. I didn't really engage with as much at the beginning because I wasn't here a lot of the time because shielding.
Oh yeah.
We remember that fun thing. But yeah, there are people that you can reach out to if you want to. But I think for me personally, I didn't feel a massive need to join those communities more than like be in the group chats at that point. But that's me personally, and maybe that would have changed at different points. But yeah. It is there. Did you still,
so you still feel that like, even though you didn't spend a massive amount of time with that groups, they are still there for people that want to spend more time within those social groups?
I mean, I'm probably not the best person to answer this because I didn't engage with it as much. So I don't want to say something that misrepresents, but I was aware of things there. And you have disabled student reps on your like college, essentially student council, JCR, and then also uni-wide disabled student reps that are trying really hard to make positive differences against all the odds, let's just say. So there are points of call if you need it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just to clarify a bit about what the JCR is, like you said, it's the like representative of the student body, the representatives of the student body. So they have lots of different people, each representing one thing.
Yeah.
So we have like a disability rep, like a BME rep, an LGBTQ rep, male and non-binary rep, a female non-binary rep, etc., etc. And I think there's about 15 people. So I think that's good to have that point of call.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the welfare point of call within college.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then beyond that, did you go clubbing at Cambridge? What was it like partying as a disabled student?
Well, as you know, Andrew, I never went to any of them.
Because this is how we met, guys. Maybe it was a bit of a trick question. But yeah, do you want to talk to us about like parties within college and then also outside of college, like if you went clubbing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk me through everything.
So, I can answer this one a bit better than the last question.
Yeah.
So if I start with outside of college, and then that can explain a bit more about inside of college stuff. So in Cambridge, there are several clubs. There is one that is properly accessible to someone with an electric wheelchair, and that is MASH. We love MASH. And my experience of MASH is very positive. The people who are managing it and running it, they always helped me so much. I got to skip the queue.
Oh, work.
I got to go in, and they have a lift that takes you up to I think it's the first floor the club's on. Mm-hmm. And the bar there isn't wheelchair accessible because there's a step, but it depends who's working, but sometimes they'll say that they'll come and bring you your own drinks, or they give you a place in the VIP section. Wow. So you can get your own drinks. See, there's got to be some pros of the whole disability thing, and this was one of them. Oh. So that was really good, and yeah, so I enjoyed it there. There also there's vinyl, which could be accessible depending on your level of physical disability. You have to go in the back entrance, as is very common in disabled life, where you have to access these buildings through like random doors in alleyways. But they have a staircase down, and it's hard to describe this lift, but if you're familiar with lifts, it will make sense to you, where it's like a platform and then a bar that comes down around you, and then that goes down the staircase to vinyl, which is more underground a little bit. But then the problem with that is because vinyl's in a listed building, the lift had to be quite specific, so it can't take the weight of me and my wheelchair at once. So I would have to transfer into a manual to then go down and then trust someone else to drive my electric wheelchair onto this platform, and I don't really want it getting driven down the stairs, so I spent a lot more time in MASH. And there are also bars and that like play music and all of that, as you'd expect, so I would go in there. There's Revs as well, but the problem with Revs is the club bit is on the top, and there's not a lift there, so you can do ground floor Revs, but yeah, as I say, I just stick at MASH. But that's why I really liked college ENTS.
It's a lovely segue.
ENTS actually happened towards the end of my time here in this room.
It's so weird being here when it's not a party. Like when we came in, we were like, we should be like grabbing a drink and like starting dancing.
And I got my water instead. Times have changed since you graduate.
We've grown up. Tell me about the ENTS. Were they accessible? Did you have fun? Did you meet any fun, like cool, like YouTubers? Like,
well, I did actually.
Wow.
So when I started going to ENTS, because they started up in my second year a bit more because of COVID, that thing, they were actually next door. But because it's a college building, it's a lot more accessible than the clubs in town, and then also my room is right next door, so it's very convenient.
Ideal.
It's perfect. And yeah, they were a lot of fun. I think because it's like going clubbing with so many people that you really know, or like even recognise, and then you get to know better, like there's just a familiarity to it. But yes, that was really good. And then I would message the disabilities rep on the JCR, and they would reserve my ticket for me because I wrote to them, and because ENT tickets, they are like gold dust.
They would sell out like this. It's changed, sorry.
Has it? Is
so
it online now?
Used to be like you have to queue up, and I would arrive hours early.
Yeah, I remember coming to queue for ENT tickets. And the queue literally went like round the back of the college and through here and then down that staircase. And I think they had a release at like 8 a.m. one day. This was on a Friday, and I got my ticket the day before because I wasn't getting up that early. And people would be like in their pyjamas, queued up, sat down in the queue, writing essays. And that's the most Cambridge thing I think I ever experienced.
Welcome to Cambridge. They sell out so fast now, but wow. Yeah, now they're online, so no queuing.
Oh, I see.
But they sell out literally like seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, because I wrote to the disabled students rep and just asked, because clubbing isn't the most accessible in Cambridge other than MASH, could I have priority ticket, please?
Awesome.
And I got it.
Nice. And Oh, it makes me happy thinking about this because that's the way we became friends.
It was a bit of a chaotic first meeting.
It was a chaotic first meeting. Maybe like YouTube doesn't need to know all the details.
We're not going into that.
Someone yesterday, I was saying this morning, was like, Andrew, one of the first times I saw you, you were literally like giving a whole private dance show to me in her chair, and I was literally like, oh.
He was. The security, because they have security at Ents now, and security came up to me and they were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, yeah, it's just Andrew.
Yeah, I was giving everything. Like, I was putting my whole heart and soul into it.
I know. I'd spot you across the room because Ents are always themed as well. So you'd be in all kinds of costumes and I'd just see you and then I'd be like, okay, I need to like put my brakes on.
Yeah.
Because something's going to happen now.
Do you remember, sorry, a bit of a side note, but I remember there was the Under the Sea one.
Yes.
And it was like mermaids. And we got a cute photo from that.
We did. Because that's one of, again, pro of being a wheelchair user. I could have a mermaid tail because I don't need... Well, feet are a fashion accessory for me at this point. Yeah, that was fun.
That was so fun. Okay, so 2 more questions. First thing, was Cambridge worth it? In general, was it worth it?
Yes. Yeah,
Aww.
I'd say so. Because I know Cambridge has a reputation, apparently, I've heard, of academic rigour. This is their favourite phrase to throw at us. But I think university is so much more than that. Like, when you leave, when you graduate, yeah, you do have your fancy piece of paper that I got emailed in the post because marking boycott. Love that. But you remember the people and you come back for the people, and they're like those Ents stories or like just things that we'd end up doing for fun instead of studying. They become what you remember. And I think weirdly, because you work hard, I think wherever you go, I don't know, I only have the experience of being a student at this uni, but that means that people are always so ready to have fun as well. And that was really like one of the best bits, I think, of uni here. So I think it's been worth it in that I've been able to network, to be honest. Like now I'm doing some work for my dissertation supervisor.
Wow.
So I'm an employee of the university now.
Oh, nice.
I know I'm on the other side. But yeah, so things like that were really good. And I love the city and the people. If you find there are so many people, you're going to find the right people for you. So I would say that's what made it worth it for me, even though there were all the accessibility challenges along the way.
Yeah. No, I love hearing people speak about their experience with Cambridge because I feel so similar in the sense that like I'm still here, but people think that, obviously I applied to Cambridge because of the course. Like I love the degree here, but also like such a massive part of it is the people. Yeah. And it's just funny because I feel like no one really talks about that online. Yeah. No one, like, obviously, a lot of YouTube videos are going to be talking about the degree and, you know, day in the life of a Cambridge student, of which I'm guilty. Like, I've done videos like that. But, yeah, the people definitely make it.
Yeah. I think you need it as well because it can get tough. As it can wherever you are. Like, I'm not trying to make out that we're some, like, weird alien species that work really hard all the time. But, yeah, you need... Well, for me, I'm a people person. Like, I need people around me when I'm having a bit of a moment and I'm tired and I'm stressed. I just need someone to be like, hey, should we go get pizza or something? Like, small things. And I think that here, the community that I found and the people I met were, it worked out well, let's say.
I'm happy. And last question is, do you have any advice to disabled students thinking of applying? Maybe they're a bit worried, like, oof, Cambridge doesn't seem very accessible, we've already talked about that, but any general advice to a disabled student, whatever disability it may be, who's thinking of applying to Cambridge?
Well, obviously, as I've said before, I'm going to come at this from my experience a little bit as a physically disabled student only. I always say I didn't apply to Cambridge for the access. That's true. But I was pleasantly surprised in many ways with the way that people were willing to listen and learn when you made them. But yeah, it probably would have been easier in certain respects to have applied to somewhere where it's less old and less cobbly. But I would say my attitude when deciding to apply to Cambridge was, firstly, it wasn't what I intended to do. I just really liked the course. So that's why I applied here. But I decided to think I want to apply to the place I would have applied to if I didn't have to think about access.
Nice.
And that is a position that I know not everybody can take. And it was a risky one and maybe a bit of a stupid one, but it worked out for me in the end. And so I was just so determined that I thought, I like the course here. I'm going to apply here. I'm probably not going to get in anyway. Let's just give it a go. And so I would say, don't be put off. Be prepared that it might be a challenge, but I think if you are a disabled person, you're used to the challenge, and you need to come with your resilience. But again, I think wherever you go to uni, there are going to be certain challenges. I think the more important thing is to think, am I suited to the Cambridge lifestyle? Like, do I mind that I'm going to be working a lot? Do I mind, like, term lengths are different. They're shorter terms here, but they cram everything in so much. So, like, for people with fatigue, I have a bit of fatigue at times. Like, that can be challenging, and pacing yourself can be challenging. I also think only apply here if it's what you want to do, because there will be harder moments. And when you're in the harder moments, you need to know that you're doing this for you. At least that's my perspective. Not that, oh, I'm doing this because my dad really wants me to go to Cambridge, but I really don't want to do it. Like, I've met people who they've had that pressure put on them to apply here. And then it's just more difficult when you're actually here. Like, I think it has to be something that's right for you. So, yeah, I guess to a disabled student, most of my advice would be the same as to a non-disabled student, as well as, in addition to that, you know, that resilience. Make sure you know what you're entitled to and what your needs are, and ask if you're not sure, advocate for yourself, and surround yourself with good people.
Aww,
there you go.
That was so inspirational.
Was
Thank
it?
you so much for your time. No, it was very sweet. Thank you so much for your time. I'm glad that we've been able to share this conversation with everyone, and I hope
thank you for having the idea.
Oh, of course. I hope that people find this useful. And yeah, just thank you so much for your time.
You're so welcome.
Bye, everyone.